Hey people, how's it going? What's happening? Before we get started with the Bridges boys on today's show, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who pre-ordered Waiting for the Punch, Words to Live By from the WTF podcast. And as you'll see when you get it, the book is dedicated to you, our listeners. And that comes from the heart. That's a true dedication. We wouldn't have done it if you hadn't stuck with us for 8 years. If you haven't pre-ordered a copy, it comes out tomorrow, October 10th, and you could get it anywhere you get books. Or you can still go to marcmaronbook.com and order it there. Some other things you might want to know. I'll be doing an AMA on Reddit tomorrow, the 10th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So you can go to Reddit and ask me some stuff. Tomorrow night I'll be at the Union Square Barnes & Noble in New York City along with Brendan McDonald. We'll do a little talk, take some questions, and sign some books. That's at 7 p.m. On Wednesday night, I'll be on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And on Friday, Brendan and I will be at the Alamo Drafthouse in San Francisco for a talk, Q&A, signing, the thing. Go to litquake.org for tickets to that. Again, thanks for all your support with the book. It's been almost 3 years to get to this point, and we're excited for you all to read it. And, thank you for everything. You listening to me now. Let's do the show.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks, what the fuckocrats, what the fuck publicans, the few of yous that are out there listening to me. How's it going? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, WTF. Thank you for listening. By the way, I've got both Bridges boys here today. I've got Jeff Bridges and Beau Bridges, separate conversations that we pulled together. We figured it was appropriate to post them together. It was great to talk to both the Bridges fellas. I'm a fan of both Bridges boys. It's hard to say that too many times. Both Jeff and Beau, I enjoy their work. So that's coming up. What else is happening? I know some of you relate to this. The fact that, many of us are terrified on a day-to-day basis it's a reasonable response. If you're checking in, if you are plugged in, if you are trying to wrap your brain around what's going on in the world now, and don't misunderstand. We have a president that enjoys terrifying us. He's not unlike his nemesis in North Korea in that. Those of us who are terrified of him, he enjoys terrifying us, and he feels like that is a fine way to exhibit what he feels is power. So, given that, and given that it is somewhat successful, I do honestly feel terrified some days. What's interesting that's happening is, in light of this, I think many of us are not only realizing that we can do what we can do. We can do all that we can do. However you're getting involved, however you're getting active, however you're preparing or pushing for the upcoming elections anywhere you are, or standing up for causes, or whatever you're connected to, you're doing that, and we're doing that. And now also you have to deal with the terror. And this is where it gets weird for me. Something happened a few months ago with me. The constant sort of foreboding and sense of destabilization and terror has really forced me to prioritize my life a little bit in ways that I haven't before. Like, let's do some things that are proactive. Let's do some healthy things. Let's do some things that are fun, that make me feel good. Let's do nice things for other people. All that stuff that maybe some of you do anyways. I'm trying to engage in more. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm just trying to compartmentalize the terror, function, be proactive, help people in my life, not be a dick if possible. It's another problem I have. I don't know if it's your problem. When I feel good, I could tend to be a dick. And there's part of me that's sort of like, who cares, man? Who cares? You made it. You got this far, and it's like just fucking enjoy yourself, whatever that means. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. Trying to manage my fear and hope for the best. So I've been watching movies. I actually watched a screener of that new movie that Beau Bridges is in, The Mountain Between Us. Now, here's the deal with me watching shit, all right? It sounded amazing thanks to Playbase from Sonos. Everything sounds better on Playbase. Movies, sports, TV shows, gaming. Playbase adds dynamic, pulse-pounding sound to whatever's playing on your TV, and it streams your favorite music when the TV is off. Most TVs end up on stands and on furniture, which is exactly what Playbase was created for. Its low-profile design practically disappears beneath your TV, yet it fills your entire viewing room with epic home theater audio. Start with a Playbase and add more Sonos speakers for a full surround sound system. They all sync up wirelessly. And now, for the first time ever, Sonos is offering listeners of WTF 10% off one order of $2,500 or less for any product on Sonos.com. The offer is available for a limited time only and cannot be combined with other discounts or promotions. Just use the promo code WTF10 at Sonos.com to receive this exclusive offer. That's Sonos.com, promo code WTF and the number 10. It is good. This Sonos shit is solid. All right? That is not their tag. It should be. This Sonos shit is solid. Hear it. Yeah, I'd recommend that for a tag. So, Beau Bridges, he's done a lot of work. That both these Bridges guys have worked, almost, they've done like just dozens of movies, TV movies. Beau's done a lot of TV work, but also big movies, movie movies. He's in this new, he's got a very important pivotal part in The Mountain Between Us. He's not on screen long, but he's the catalyst to the romance in this plane crash movie. But it was great talking to him, just about the arc of, his career and, where he's at now. And he was great in The Descendants and, he goes way back. I'm just going off the top of my head, but, we talked, so you'll hear that. The Mountain Between Us with Kate Winslet and Idris Elba. It's out now. The plane crash romance. And, yeah. So this is me talking to Beau Bridges. Beau Bridges.
Yeah.
The man. This is like, it's kind of insane. Like I watched a screener of the new movie of The Mountain Between Us. I knew going in, that, and I think everybody does from watching the trailer, that the plane's going to crash.
Something's got to happen, right?
It's going to happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then when you come out and you're like, there's the guy, he's going to be flying the plane. And I'm like, all right, well, he's got about 10 minutes.
That's it. And you got it right. Yeah.
But, what's wild is that, you work the hell out of that 10.
Yeah.
That you're going down. All right, yeah, you're going into it. I'm not spoiling anything for anybody.
Right.
But the way you played what happened, was very deliberate. There was a moment there before what happens where you do something with your speech pattern. And it's just a little bit of little, I don't remember, you screwed up a saying.
A little guffaw. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I was like, uh-oh.
Here we go.
Something's not going right with that guy.
Yeah.
But when you do something like that, because it was very convincing, is that something you came up with? Was that like, when you're playing a guy that's having that kind of situation, how much of that was in the script?
Well, some of it was indicated.
Yeah, sure.
But the director was very, very hands-on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he helped me a lot, honey. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I did my research about what happens to a guy when he has a stroke.
Yeah.
And then the airplane crash itself.
Yeah.
He had a very strong vision of how he wanted to do that.
Oh, really?
Like in one take. That was.
Yeah.
And when I signed up for the movie, I had only two questions. I said, number one, am I going to have to get up in a small plane and do all kinds of crazy shit up there and have, as it
for
goes
real,
down.
you mean, for real.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I said, and I don't want you to drag my body all over the snow and the ice.
Those were your two requests.
Those are my two requests. So they assured me that, no, we'd be doing the plane crash in a hangar. On a
simulated
dummy airplane.
Yeah.
And that I would do a full body cast and they'd be dragging,
a dummy
of me around. So that worked out good. But as it turned out, the airplane crash was hairy. I mean, we were about...
Even in the hangar.
Oh, we were about 200 200 or 300 feet up in the air.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and with my dog as my co-pilot, of course.
The good dog, yeah.
And the director wanted to do it in one take, so we all had to hit our marks. I fortunately was just in a seat, so I could strap myself in very well. And I was fully padded with body armor and everything. And I told Kate and Idris, and I said, "You guys better, pad up," because I said this is going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean,
when the tail, you mean when it comes out on when the plane comes apart?
Yeah, when it starts to bang around and stuff, they really shook the hell out of us. And,
oh man!
And Idris and Kate had to run up and down the airplane.
Yeah.
The camera was on a line that went right down the whole length of the airplane. So that the camera would go past me, turn around, see me, then go back all the way to them. So we had to not only say the lines and deal with all that, but we had to watch out for this flying camera that was coming by. And then the dog had to hit his marks. And below me, the aircraft was just open. So it was like a 100-foot death drop.
Oh my God!
If we fell out,
yeah.
I was okay because I was strapped in, but the dog wasn't because he had to go back and forth. So I had to kind of have a hold on him. It was interesting, and we did about 25 takes. But
so
we finally got it.
You didn't get it in the one take.
Oh no, no.
And no, the dog. Everyone was okay.
Everybody was okay. I think Idris banged himself up a bit, but everyone else was okay.
It's sort of an interesting movie because, it's one of those movies where it's clearly a plane crash, but no, they don't even eat the dog. So, it becomes...
Yeah, right, exactly.
It becomes
or each other.
Right. It's sort of like, what's going to happen then? Mm-hmm. And then in about a half hour in, you're like, oh, it's a romance. Yeah. It's a romantic movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, you've been acting for your entire life.
Absolutely. Well, since I was 6, I did my first job.
I mean, when you look at your filmography, it's sort of like, oh my God, there's 100 movies here. There's 100 movies, about 100 TV movies and TV shows.
Yeah, I never counted them, but I'm sure
crazy.
There's a lot of them. My first job was in a movie. Well, no, actually, I guess it was earlier. You were right, my whole life, because I think John Garfield carried me through a movie. I can't remember the name of it. But
oh, really?
Yeah, he was a buddy of my dad's, and he carried me through
John Garfield.
A scene. And then
Postman Always Rings Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I was in was one of his classics, and I can't think of the name of it. But then the one where I had my first line was The Red Pony with Robert Mitchum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who's the famous author, John? Steinbeck.
Oh, Steinbeck. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Red Pony.
And I can still remember my line. I had only one line, as I was a buddy of it was a coming of age story, a buddy of the kid. And he was brushing a horse, and I said, "You're going to brush the hide right off him."
That was the first line you uttered on screen.
That was it.
But your dad, Lloyd Bridges, is another guy. You look at his filmography, and that's 100 movies. So you grew up in this town, right? You were born and raised in Los Angeles. Beverly Hills?
No, I went to Venice High School.
Oh, yeah? You guys are all from Venice?
Near the corner of Sawtell and Nashville.
And as you when I think about old Hollywood, which you grew up in, it seemed like, and your dad was in the business. He was was he a studio guy? Did he have a deal?
He got his first job at Columbia. He kind of starved in New York for a while in the theater. My mom sold hats and gloves and kept him alive. And then he came out to California to get a contract with Columbia.
So he was on a lot. He was working there. He was just a go-to actor guy.
Right.
And you grew up in that. So it's my belief that it was a smaller town then, right? And that I have to assume that your dad's friends were all these guys that we're all familiar with from movies and television. And
not really.
No?
No. There were a few people like that. But he really befriended, people from all walks of life. We lived in a small community where, every 4 or 5 houses looked the same. What do you call that?
Development.
Yeah. And right across the street, it was a new development, and right across the street from our house was bean fields as far as you could see. This is right in the, where Sawtelle National. This is in the 40s.
Right.
And so it was a real community feel, lots of kids. And so his best friends were really neighbors.
Oh, yeah?
And they came from all walks of life. But there was the occasional, actor person that was around.
Yeah. Occasional. He didn't have any good friends that were actors?
Oh, yeah, sure he did. Yeah. Yeah. Larry Parks and Betty Garrett were good buddies. And then the guy that directed that show, The Red Pony.
Yeah.
Louis Milestone, I called him Millie.
Yeah.
He's an iconic director, won I think Academy Award or two.
And he was around a lot?
He was around because what happened was my dad and a couple of his buddies bought a prefab shack, and my dad bought an acre of land near the Ventura County line on the beach in the sand dunes. And they threw this shack over the cliff. There was no access road down to it. And they put it up amidst the sand dunes. It had no electricity, no water, anything,
Yeah.
And we used to have one of those phones that goes like this to get across to the highway to the post office.
A crank phone?
And there was only one other house, and Louis Milestone lived in that house. And that's how I got that part.
Right down the beach from the shack?
Yeah, exactly. That was the only other house in the area.
So now when you start acting at that age, I mean, how do you know how to, and your brother's doing it too? How soon after you started did he start?
Well, Jeff is 8 years younger than me.
Oh, he's 8 years. How many, there's people between you?
Well, we had a brother, Gary, who died at 2 years old, crib death.
That's awful.
It was tough. It was tough for our family. And then Jeff came along, and I acted when I was young, like we've been talking about. And then I got really interested in athletics. And played all through school and college and stuff. And then when I got out of college, right around toward the end of college.
But you're still doing bit parts, right? It seems like you're still doing TV stuff.
Well, that's when I started. When I got toward the end of college, I started to do the guest shots on TV things.
But like My Three Sons, you were in college?
Yeah, oh yeah, Mr. Novak and Wagon Train.
Sea Hunt with your dad?
All that. Did Sea Hunt. So did my brother. Yeah, all the family did that. We have a sister too, Cindy. She acted.
Really?
Yeah. And then I got heavy into acting, probably in my early 20s, and then my brother, his first job, I think he was like 17 or 18, and I'm trying to think of the
Last
name
Picture
of it.
Show?
No,
it was before that.
No, he did one before that, but yeah, that's the one. The Last Picture Show. He was about 18. And he got nominated for an Academy Award for that.
How'd you handle that?
Well, I was disappointed because my brother, my dad traveled a lot. He's a great dad to us, but because he was away a lot, I took over a lot of the stuff that a father would do with my
younger brother. Because he was out on movies?
Teach him how to throw a ball, how to do all the stuff. So one of the things that I was impressed with my little brother was his musicianship. I mean, he took my Dano electric guitar that I bought, and I learned how to play EAB7 pretty quick.
That's all you need.
Play all the old rock and roll tunes and
right.
stuff. But then I got into sports, and I put my guitar down, and my little brother picked it up. And I'm listening to him, and by the time he's 16 or 17, he's a pretty decent guitar player, And I said, wow, he's starting to write things. And I thought he was going to become a rock and roll star. That was my dream for him. So he goes and gets an Academy Award nomination on his first acting job, and that was the end of his music stuff for a while. And that was disappointing to me, I remember.
That was the letdown, that he almost won an Academy Award and he had to give up his almost rock and roll career.
That's it.
But did you ever continue playing or no?
Oh, yeah. No, we all play music. We jam all the time.
You do?
In fact, we had a big jam recently. My niece, Jeff's daughter, Jessie, who's a great performer, great musician, she got married up on his ranch in Montana. And the night before the wedding, we had a jam, and a lot of musicians in the family and friends of his. And it started off, my niece sang the first song, and it's one of those guitar passing things,
Sure, yeah.
So she says, who wants to take it now, and she looked at me because she knew I'd do it for her, just to get it going. So I took it, and I sang the first song after her, and then I handed the guitar to Jackson Brown, who I've known for years.
Yeah.
And Jackson said, "Wait a second, he's a real one."
Yeah. Yeah.
But he got in there and sang, and it was fun. But we loved to play music, and of course in the Baker Boys we played music together.
On the piano.
Yeah.
Are you a piano player as well?
Not like my brother's a pretty good piano player.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he can still play all those Dave Grusin tunes that he was playing in that movie.
Oh, you can?
I
Yeah.
had to kill myself to learn my stuff. But I can still chord with my left, play melody with my right. I'm okay for sing-alongs and Christmas time and stuff like that.
Right. So, like, I guess my question then, like, you know, when you're acting at that young of age, how do you know how to act? Does your dad tell you? Do you learn?
Yeah. No, my dad was my teacher.
Oh, yeah?
A great teacher. He gave me all my tools. And
like, what do you still remember? You use them to this day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can still hear him, say, make it true, even if it's just your own truth. Be simple. Don't push. And it was basically the Stanislavski method of acting. And he only gave me one book on the craft of acting.
Which was?
Called Acting the First 6 Lessons.
Yeah. By
Richard Boleslavsky, who was a student of Stanislavski's.
Right.
He was the first guy to bring the method, the Stanislavski method, to the States. And the book was written in 1939. And then...
Was that like the group theater stuff? Or no?
Yeah, all those guys were from that. So I loved that book. I gave it to all my children. I have 5 kids.
Yeah. Did you give it to your brother too?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah, and then my daughter and I, about 5 years ago, we wrote a play based on the novel, because it's not only a how-to about the craft of acting, but it's a relationship between the teacher and his student, who he calls the creature, this young girl that comes to him and learns these 6 lessons of acting.
That's the text. It's sort of like Plato's dialogue.
It's published by Sam French, so anyone that wants to see it can just go get it online. But it's always interested me that that relationship between a teacher and his student is a beautiful one. Mentorship and all that. Sure. And so it explores all that, because this girl, she comes for the first lesson and she thinks she's God's gift to acting, and the teacher reams her a new one, and she leaves crying, and then she comes back. All through her career, she becomes a famous actress, and she comes back for another lesson each time. And it's pretty cool.
And you did the play with your daughter?
Yeah, we performed it here in L.A. We just actually...
How'd it go over?
Great.
Yeah.
We performed it again recently in Minneapolis, too.
And how'd that go over there? Good?
Great. Oh, yeah.
So what are some of the lessons outside what your dad told you? Stay present, be real, be true, even if it's just to yourself.
There's
slow down.
Memory of emotion.
Yeah.
Observation.
Observation, applied observation, like, study people, or? Yeah,
but just make sure that acting, there's a line in there, is acting is the life of the human soul receiving its birth through art.
Wow.
So, acting is basically kind of reporting on, how we live on our lives. So these acting lessons are life lessons as well. Yeah. And then there's one on rhythm. Yeah. So it's about, making sure that you observe and take in the different rhythms of your life experience, what it's like to be in the city, what it feels like to be out in nature, and how those different things, resonate differently for you, and how they're both necessary, and all this, and observation and memory of emotion.
So you can put yourself into those places when necessary.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you're on a set. You're not out in nature. You're not.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of pretending needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
But pretending in a way, you act. I think we act in our lives too.
Of course. Yeah. You can't walk around just being real all the time.
No, some of us act more than others, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. Well, you got to do what you can to keep your shit together, Beau.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it seems like in your career that, I guess it becomes a question of, because you did a lot of, in the 60s, you were doing, L.A. must have been nuts in the 60s. I just picture, you talk about knowing Jackson Brown. I imagine, during that period in the late 60s, to be part of this community, the show business community, must have been a blast.
Oh, it was really fun. And I kind of hit pretty early in my career.
What do you consider? What was your first hit?
Well,
you were working a lot.
Yeah, but
like The Landlord.
Yeah, I mean, not having a calendar of my work in front of me, I'm not sure exactly what the different years were, but the Landlord, and around that time I did The Other Side of the Mountain, which was kind of a surprise hit for Universal. Yeah, and then I had then I had one called Gaily Gaily that came out that crapped out, and it was probably the most expensive movie of that time. I was getting all the big stories were coming my direction when I was like in my early 20s. I was quite fortunate.
And that was a Norman Jewison movie?
Yeah. And Hal Ashby directed The Landlord. That was his first one.
And so those guys Hal anyways went on to sort of define that period of filmmaking.
Oh yeah, he was something else.
Last Detail. What was he like? I mean, how was he a hands-on guy?
He was a wonderful man. Yeah.
What made him a great director?
Well, for Hal, he loved making films so much, and so his films were like major parties.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like The Landlord opens up with his own wedding.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I was his best man
in real life.
Yeah. And
in the movie,
he tells the preacher to hit his marks. Yeah. It had nothing to do with the movie, really. But all his work is so personal. Jeff did his last one, so we bookended his
what was
career.
His last movie?
8 Million Ways to Die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was very fortunate there, and then I kind of nosedived. I mean, our business is such a up and down roller coaster ride for most of it. I've always worked.
Right, but you did sort of like, you worked with, it seems like these are movies that I didn't see, but when I'm looking through it, like Hammersmith is Out.
Oh, that was wild. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I didn't see it, but it's Burton and Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
And Peter Ustinov is directing.
Oh, it's crazy.
And those two must have been like huge at that point.
Oh, yeah, they were. And I was attracted to kind of weird, crazy films that I would pick. Some of my friends or my parents would say, why are you going to do that? But I always liked these kind of strange ones. But then...
what was that like? What was that movie about?
Oh, that movie was a road picture with the three of us.
Yeah.
Me, Elizabeth, and Richard.
What was, that must have been nuts.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, I was a guy working in an insane asylum, kind of cleaning up around the place. And Richard was one of the inmates, and he breaks out, and it was sort of a Faustus tale.
Oh, okay. And it seems like, how does movie making change? Like, because I was also looking at I remember the movie 2 Minute Warning. I kind of remember it because a lot of this stuff happened when I was a child. But like Charlton Heston, I've done some acting myself, so I know that once you're on set, you're just at work.
Yeah.
But these are huge, mythic guys in the business.
Yeah.
I mean, Cassavetes is in that movie, too.
Well, the guy that directed that is a good buddy of mine, by the way, Larry Pierce. I probably work with him more than any other director.
How has it changed?
He's great. He's very involved in how, in the characters.
Oh, yeah?
So oh, yeah.
And what did you play? You didn't play a bad guy in that one, did you?
No, I played a guy who, when the shooting breaks out in the football arena in the Coliseum, I'm getting a hot dog or something, and then I try to make my way back into the stadium to get to my family.
Oh, okay.
When the shooting starts.
Right.
And they had like a casting call for about 1,000 extras that came there like 2:00 in the morning.
And they just moved them around the stadium?
People. Yeah. And so when we get to that scene, I asked my old friend Larry, I said, Larry, how are you going to do this scene when I have to go through and all those people are pouring out? I said, somebody's going to get hurt, and it could be me. I said, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? He said, don't worry. He says, I got a guy that's going to run interference for you, and he's one of the baddest dudes in the business, a stuntman. I said, okay. So the guy comes around the corner, and it's an old friend of mine that I was in the Coast Guard with. We were in boot camp together.
You knew
Ronnie Stein. And he's like, built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I still am in touch with him. And he just knocked people down, As we went through these people, it was pretty scary.
Did anyone get hurt?
No, not bad. Good. Not bad.
And what was it like working with Charlton Heston?
I didn't have any scenes with him.
You didn't?
But Charlton Heston, I'll tell you a great story on Charlton Heston.
Okay.
Because I knew him.
You did?
Just from... we played in charity tennis tournaments together, and my parents knew him and stuff. And I used to debate him in magazines and stuff on the gun control issue all the time, because he was the
big gun guy,
NRA
from my dead hands
president and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just a wonderful guy. And but we would debate each other. And so, and I'll come back around to him in a second.
Yeah.
So in the last stages of the Vietnam War, there was a big protest happening where people were going to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And there were buses leaving from all the major cities. This is in, like about 68.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Early.
So I decided to call all the talk show hosts, the guys that Johnny and all the different ones that I'd been on, and say, guys, can I come on your show? And I said, I don't want to make a big political statement, but I would like to just give the addresses in the major cities where these buses are leaving from. So if anyone wants to join the protest, and it ended up being like millions of people going to Washington, D.C. And to my surprise, they all said, yeah, come on, and it was all last minute. So there was a guy named Irv Kupcinet out of Chicago that had a talk show, and it was very relaxed. And I did this last minute with all these guys. And so I didn't know who was going to be on.
With Johnny, too? Carson? You did Carson, too?
I think I did Carson. I'm not sure, but I think I did. I did a lot of them. And
so you went to Chicago as well to do this show?
No. Irv Kupcinet happened to be in L.A.
Oh, okay. Shooting here.
But he was out of Chicago, but he was doing that. So I go there, and my heart kind of sinks because I see the other two guys that are in there are Charlton, who is a very conservative guy, and the other guy was Jack Warner.
Another
guy.
The one who used to wear the uniform around the lot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So these guys are there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, man, this is going to be interesting. So they talked first, and they were talking about old Hollywood and how the Warner Brothers got their thing going. It was fascinating. I was kind of listening to it, the popcorn business and all the stuff they were into. Then it comes time for me, and the guy had told me, he says, I'm going to put you on at the very end. I said, fine, I'll make it so short and sweet, believe me. So I was sitting out there with Charlton and Jack when they were doing their thing. So that I'd met them, and I knew Charlton, right? But I'd actually met Jack Warner because I'd worked with him on different things. Yeah. So I do my thing. Yeah. And I'm making my little announcements, and I had made my own little signs with the addresses on that I was holding up, and I hear this low guttural sound coming out from the side. And I turn around, and it's Jack Warner, and he's about to have a stroke. I mean, his face is all red. His veins are popping out. He's pissed.
Just that because you're announcing.
Oh, that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And he says, when I could finally understand him, I stopped and looked at him, and he says, when I first met you, he says, I thought you were a nice young man. But now that I think of it, the name Bridges has an all too familiar ring. Now, my dad was, he was called up in front of the witch hunt.
Oh, yeah, House Un-American
Activities Committee, and he was exonerated finally. But
he was blacklisted for a bit?
He was blacklisted for a while, yeah. So he said that to me, and my sweat popped out of my...
Oh, my God.
And I said, what the... And then...
Did you know at the time that's what he was referring to?
Oh, yeah. I knew immediately when he said that. Yeah. And I didn't want to get into all that with him, but I what am I going to do? And then before I had to do anything, Charlton speaks up. And he says, Jack, he says, this is America. He says, Beau has every right to free speech and to peaceful protest. So let's listen to what he has to say. And I thought, whoa, that was amazing. And I've never forgot that, So it was beautiful. And I think I had a chance later on to express that to him, my appreciation for him standing up for me there.
Isn't that something?
And that was cool, yeah.
Especially what we're going through now.
Oh, yeah.
The right to protest.
Peaceful protest. It's an American tradition,
So at that time, you were actively against the war and doing everything you could.
And I'm as a veteran too.
Yeah, in the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
That time must have been pretty crazy. I mean, you saw the whole shift. That's what's interesting about your career, obviously, and your brothers as well, and even your dad's, is that the entire movie business changed in the late 60s, right? Because none of the old guys knew what to do anymore.
Yeah, and when I went up for a movie that John Huston directed.
Oh, yeah?
I'm trying to think of it. It was a boxing movie.
Oh, the one...
That Jeff, my brother, did.
Yeah, Fat City.
Fat City. And I went up for that to meet John Huston.
Yeah.
And he said, geez, and he had several meetings with him. He says, Guy, you're so great. You know, I really love you in this role. He says, but you're just probably, 5 or 6 years too old for it.
Oh, man.
So I said, well, guess what? I said, meet my little brother. And Jeff came in and got that role. Now you go speed ahead, maybe 15 years later, my career is kind of tanking a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And Jeff gets the script for Fabulous Baker Boys. And they wanted some big-timers, guys that were really popular at that time, big stars, to play his brother. And he told young Steve Clovis, who wrote it at the age of 23, and he was 26 when he was directing it, first time director. And Jeff said, no, I'd like my brother to play my brother, So I went in, and I said, Jeff, don't blow this over me.
Right.
And he says, no, this will be good. He says, you just go have lunch with Steve. And so I went in, and I took a little Polaroid picture that I had taken of my brother when he was 16 and me on the back of a flatbed truck.
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot of what they call street theater in those days. We just go and set up and do scenes and poetry.
When was that, in the 60s?
Yeah. And I used to take my little brother along with me on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And what we usually do is we'd go in and then we'd stage a fight. We'd fight each other to draw a crowd.
Yeah.
And then when the crowd came around, we'd jump up on the truck and do, scenes from Come Blow Your Horn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just acting scenes?
Yeah. And so I showed that picture to Steve, and I think that's what
did it? That's what sealed the deal?
Yeah.
When you say your career was tanking, or that it kind of took a nosedive, like how long was that for in your mind? I mean, like in what was...
Well, I was never really out of work.
Yeah, right. That's what it
but
doesn't look like.
But like I said to you, I got such a fast, big start.
Sure.
And it didn't last real long.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've always, it's been up and down, but I've always worked. And I remember my dad, toward the end of his life, his career, he was like saying, geez, there's so many things I wanted to do, and my career, is not what I'd hoped to be. And I said, Dad, come on, man, you're an iconic actor. I said, you've been in, probably one of the greatest Westerns ever made, High Noon. You had a huge television series. I said, what do you want, man? I said, come on.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the way it is. People, you always want a little bit more. I don't, though. I feel blessed. I feel so happy to be working in this business I love and to make a living at it.
Well, it seems like even when, you did some like maybe not high quality movies, that then, then you do Norma Ray, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I was looking at some of these credits, like there are certain ones that are sort of kind of mind blowing. You worked with Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On Greased Lightning.
Yeah. What a great guy he was.
I remember that movie. What was that? It was about like stock car drivers or
a true story.
Stunt drivers.
True story. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you? How was that? How was working with him?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Real quiet, soft spoken, which really surprised me.
And at that time, that was, let's see, what year was that? So he was a huge comic then, right?
Yeah.
But he could do serious acting very well.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good movie. Pam Grier.
Yeah. I think it was a good movie. Oh, Honky Tonk Freeway. That's what I wanted to ask you. So that...
I didn't think that was a very good movie.
No, of course not.
But a lot of big-time actors, and John Schlesinger.
That's right. Yeah. Schlesinger directed it.
Great guy. really fun.
British guy, right?
Yeah.
Did some great movies. Did Marathon Man.
Took us all to the Magic Castle for our
the rap
party? Seance.
Oh, for a seance.
For our rap party.
But that was, I guess, based on It's a Mad, 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 Mad World or something, or just like one of those huge casted comedy kind of things.
Yeah, something like that. Bunch of people stuck on a freeway.
Yeah, but when you take a movie like that, are you thinking like, well, yeah, I'm just going to take the job? Or are you looking at the director? What do you do?
And yeah, I thought it had a chance to be kind of an interesting story. I mean, for me, the story is the most important element.
Uh-huh.
But then it depends on kind of where you are in your career. I can't remember exactly where I was there. Maybe I needed a paycheck. I don't know.
But that plays into it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sort of like, it's sort of amazing when I start looking through the credits, like some of these directors, like Stanley Kramer, you worked with.
Another great one.
On I don't even know what movie that was. Do you?
Yeah, that was with Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was what was it called?
Was it the Runner Stumbles?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And Dick Van Dyke's another funny guy, could do great serious acting.
I thought he was very good in that. Yeah, that movie didn't do business, but I thought it was decent.
But like somebody like Stanley Kramer, who's a big, old style director.
Yeah, he told me, Stanley, I was the first character on screen in that movie.
Yeah.
And he said, it's important to me that it's silent. You're a young lawyer. You're on your way to see your client who's in jail, Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
And you're walking through this small town. And he says, and I'm going to run the credits over it, and I want it to be important, but there's no dialogue, so I want you to conceive of something interesting, to do. So I had this idea of stepping in dog shit in front of these kids that are in this small town, and they see me, and I try to scrape it off the side of the curb. Yeah. He's, oh, yeah, that's good. So we get in there. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun is coming up.
Yeah.
And he has to have the crew guys go out and try to find dog shit at 5 o'clock in the morning. They were not happy with me for the idea. And in the end, they couldn't find any because it was too cold. I guess the dogs...
They weren't shitting?
No, they weren't shitting out where anyone could see it. So they had to get like Mars bars and,
Sure, yeah.
And melt them and put them down, yeah.
Which is a, better way for them.
And then I think that part was cut out of the movie.
I didn't make the cut?
Fortunately.
Oh, come on.
Maybe not. Maybe I had to go back and look at it.
And I can't, I remember, you're just one of those ever-present, guys in TV and in film. You're always working, but there was never a point where you're like, oh, it's over. You're like, oh God, I'm never going to work again.
No, I always, I'd worry about, where I was going and stuff, but, no. And I've always been fortunate to have a good story come along that I can get in touch with. And another wonderful experience for me was, Without Warning, doing the James Brady story, the press secretary.
Oh, that's right. That was a TV movie?
It was a great one. I really enjoyed doing it.
Because you got to spend time with him?
Yes, and become lifelong friends. And he and Sarah are both gone now, but their family, the whole family, was really important to me.
It's so like when you do something like that, and he was the press secretary, right?
Yeah, but when I met him, he was already in a wheelchair.
Sure.
He'd been shot.
Yeah, and what are the challenges of playing a real person, especially someone who's still alive?
Well, it's a hand up because you got the person sitting there, so you can see them and
so you can
get a sense of who they
mimic
are.
Him, get the vibe.
I had his family read the whole script for me, including Jim and his wife.
So you stayed friends throughout his life, and you played Nixon too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was interesting because he's like not one of my favorite presidents in my lifetime.
I would imagine in the '60s it would be
and I remember I was doing research on him, and my parents and my wife and I were down in San Diego.
Yeah.
For some other event or something. We were all in the same car, and we're heading back up north. And I said, do you guys mind if I drop off at the Nixon Library?
Yeah.
Because I want to get some research material, and they have life-size things of all the, the big honchos from the different countries, at that time. And I wanted to see those and everything. And
the arc of his life.
Yeah, and I said, it's not going to take me long. So you guys don't even have to come in. And my dad says, no, I'd like to come in. I said, well, if you do come in, I said, I don't want you to say a word to people in there.
Your dad?
I said this to my dad about why I'm there. And then, of course, the minute we get in there, my son is playing Richard Nixon.
So then you got the special tour, probably.
And my concept on playing Nixon was called Kissinger and Nixon. It was a small piece of time during the Vietnam War, between those two guys.
Yeah.
Ron Silver.
Yeah, Ron Silver
played Kissinger.
Uh-huh.
But when I did it, my decision was to look as much like Nixon as I possibly could, because I'd seen the other guys that had played Nixon, and none of them went for that.
Right. They with full makeup and
so it was almost like kabuki. I mean, all I had was my eyes.
Oh, you did the nose and everything.
And Ron was the same way with Kissinger.
Full makeup.
Oh yeah, I mean,
prosthetics.
I had everything. It would take me 2 or 3 hours. I'd fall asleep in a chair, wake up like Richard Nixon. I thought they did a great job, but unfortunately, my first scene was Nixon dives into a swimming pool with all that makeup on. I was so afraid it was just going to hang off my face like a horror movie. But
scary Nixon. Right, horror. Well, he was scary, but in another way,
Yeah, but it didn't. It hung in there.
Do you feel good about the performance, all in all?
Yeah, I like that movie. That's another director that I worked a few times with. That it was a really great director, Dan Petrie.
There's not a big difference in terms of how you approach a TV movie in a regular movie, right?
No, not really.
No.
I mean, maybe a little bit. Because you realize on a big screen, the subtleties can come through a little better.
Sure.
Stage is a lot different, I would say.
How much stage work did you do?
I've done quite a bit, yeah. Recently, I went back to Broadway and did How to Succeed. That was quite a jump, doing dancing and singing. And
was it great?
I had to train my ass off. Oh, yeah, it was great. I did it with Nick Jonas one time and Darren Criss.
I thought you were great, too, in the Descendants. I love that one.
Yeah, with George. What a wonderful man he is.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
He really seems like it. I want
guy.
him to be a wonderful man.
Oh, he is. I mean, I've never heard anybody really say a bad word about him, which is not surprising. I've worked with him twice now.
Yeah.
And he's just great.
Yeah, he seems like he's one of those guys where, and I imagine you've seen some of them growing up where, like, he's a real movie star. That guy.
Well, yeah, but that's not the effect you get.
Right, but he seems like a decent.
Yeah, and he's one of those. He's so friendly and down to earth that you work with him for a couple of days and he's like a good bud.
Right, too. That seems like
it. Yeah, he's real nice, and he's always looking out for who he's working with. And he's great.
So now, what's your relationship with your brother like now? Is it good?
Oh yeah, I mean he's my best friend.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
love him.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
It's so nice, and you're happy for each other's success. And
and I don't torture him anymore like I used to when he was little. All I had to do was I'd point my finger at him.
Yeah.
Just like this and kind of wiggle it.
Yeah.
At his face, and he'd go ape shit. He'd just go crazy and cry and everything else. And then when my parents told me to stop it, when they realized what I was doing, then I'd move my hand down underneath the table.
Yeah.
And like I'm doing it to you now.
Yeah.
I'm wiggling my finger, but I'm looking at you. But you can tell by the way I'm looking with my eyes at you that I'm doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And he'd go, ah!
Why? Because it was threatening to him, or you thought you were going to hit him, or just
no? It was just creepy, I guess, annoying. And then he paid me back. When he was about 18, he jumped on top of me and tickled me until I peed in my pants, and that was
that was it.
Yeah, then I had to stop all my torturing.
And you both have kids, right? Older kids now, and you. I
have 5. He has 3. The cousins love each other. They all hang out.
It's sweet. And is your sister still around?
Oh yeah. She has boys, and all the cousins really hang with each other and have a good time.
It's a beautiful thing. I like that you guys are friends. I'm going to talk to him.
Oh, when are you talking to him?
I think I'm going to talk to him next week or something.
Oh, good. Well, you know what you should do?
What?
Is don't say anything about it, but when he sits down at the chair, just go like this.
Wiggle the finger at him like that?
Yeah, just like this. and don't pull it down until he understands what you're doing.
I wonder if he will. Or if
are you kidding? He'll know exactly what you're doing.
Are you guys, you think you're ever going to do another movie together?
Oh, we'd like to. Yeah.
How does this happen? Let me ask you a question about, because I had to look at the whole filmography. How it says that you were in Jerry Maguire uncredited.
That was stupid.
What does that mean?
Well, it was dumb. It was dumb. I wanted to work with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Because he was young and hot, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what he brought to the table.
Uh-huh.
And there wasn't much money involved. And then they got into a big dispute about how they were going to bill me.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, this is not why I'm in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't care, really. So I just told my agent, I said, just tell them not to bill me. I don't care,
Uh-huh.
And now it's a movie because I had such a small part.
Right.
But it was a very pivotal part of that movie. So I have people coming up, saying, my word is stronger than oak and all the, whatever the shit I said in the movie.
Yeah.
And then loads of people say, why didn't you take credit? And I feel like such a jerk. I should have.
And what was it? What did you find when you worked with Tom Cruise? What was your curiosity? How did that pan out?
He was excellent. I thought his work ethic was very strong.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Charismatic guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just great. And my son in that movie, Jerry O'Connell.
Uh-huh.
I was doing a movie up in this weird little, town way out in the boonies in North Ontario recently, just about a week or two ago.
Oh, really?
Called North Bay, Ontario.
Yeah.
Doing a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And who should come up about 1 o'clock in the morning to our thing but Jerry O'Connell, and he says, "Dad!" He comes over. And there's a lot of movies shooting in that little town. He's got a series now. I forget what it's called.
Oh, that's a lot of stuff shoots up there. That's hilarious. And you hadn't seen him in years.
No, it was good to see him.
And there's some other interesting credits here for you. There's these Japanese animation things.
Yeah, that was fun. I did one or two of those with my daughter Emily.
And how did they come to you?
I don't know. Someone just called. Asked if I would do it. Yeah. I've done a few animated things.
Yeah, it's fun, right? It's easy.
Yeah, that's great.
Just because you can lean into it and no one's looking at you, you get the voice right. Was your mother an actress too?
Yeah, she was. She was in college.
Yeah.
And then when my dad, like I said, was a struggling actor in New York, she had to go out and get the paycheck to do any job she could.
Right. So that
she kind of gave it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I put her to work in a movie I did, a couple of movies actually, and I directed my dad too in a few movies, and she would play his wife one time. In fact, he threw her down some stairs in a movie.
That you directed?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She dies at the bottom of the stairs. She had a death scene.
Oh my God. Was that a TV movie?
Yeah.
Wait, what movie was that?
Oh shit, what was it called? Secret Sins of the Father. Yeah, it turned out okay actually.
And you casted
and I had
your parents?
Two of my sons in it, and then I did a Disney movie, which became their Thanksgiving special for many years, called The Thanksgiving Promise. It was a coming of age story that my son Jordan, who's now a very successful actor, he was in. He played Frankie Rizzoli in Rizzoli and Isles. That went for 7-8 years.
Oh yeah.
And he was 12 then, and he played the lead character. My brother was in it. My entire family was in that movie.
In the Thanksgiving movie?
The Thanksgiving Promise, yeah.
And that's a Disney movie?
Yeah.
And they ran it for every year?
Yeah, TV movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it became sort of a mainstay?
Yeah, for them for Thanksgiving.
Well, that's nice.
It still pops up every once in a while.
Little residual track?
Yeah.
So how many of the cousins and the sibling, or the kid, that generation of Bridges are acting now?
Well, I'll run down my kids.
Yeah.
Because they're all involved one way or another. My oldest, Casey, is a documentary filmmaker.
Uh-huh.
He also runs an organization called Tools for Peace. If anyone wants to Google that, it's a great organization.
Wow.
They have schools. They have programs in schools teaching kids compassion, and stuff like that. It's great.
That's nice.
But he also makes documentary films. Then my son Jordan, I told you about him.
Acting.
He's an actor. And then my son Dylan is a director of marketing at Universal for all their social media. So he's on a roll, that dude.
Oh, yeah?
They're just killing it. Universal,
Yeah. With the big movies.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And he's a young guy. He's like
Are they doing
32.
all the superhero movies?
Yeah. Well, they have Fast and Furious.
Oh, right. That one. That.
Straight Outta Compton. I mean, they're just...
Yeah.
One,
that was a great movie.
Yeah, one giant hit after another. And then my daughter Emily, I told you about her. She's a playwright with me and an actress, and just got her master's in arts and cultural leadership, which is providing the arts to underserved communities. So she does that as well as being an actor. And then my son Zeke, who's the youngest, is just beginning his thing as an actor. And we did recently, we did a reading of Johnny Got His Gun. Do you know that piece? Dalton Trumbo.
Oh, yeah.
About the young soldier with no arms and legs.
Right. Yeah.
Shot off.
Yeah.
Oh, God, my son was great in it.
Yeah.
And we did it as a two-hander. I was kind of the narrator.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a family business.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, it was great talking to you. It was a real honor to talk to you. And I'll say hi to your brother for you.
Wiggle the finger at him, man.
I'm going to wiggle the finger. I'm just happy that there's no bitterness or jealousy. And that never happened.
No, because, as I say, sometimes I'll get mistaken for my brother. And they'll say, "Hi, Jeff." I said, no. I said, "I'm the pretty one."
Good. Oh, good. All right. Great talking to you.
All right. Good talking to you, Mark.
Genuine guy, that Beau Bridges. Nice guy, professional, and still going. Just doing the work. Before I talk to Jeff, let me take a minute to remind you to avoid the hassle of the post office and mail everything from postcards to envelopes to packages, domestic or international, with Stamps.com. Stamps.com lets you buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. It's just 3 steps. Click, print, and mail. Boom, you're done. And unlike the post office, Stamps.com never closes. Print postage for letters or packages at your convenience 24/7. They'll even send you a digital scale that automatically calculates exact postage and helps you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. It's all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right at your fingertips, people. If you're getting a book plate because you pre-ordered Waiting for the Punch, I signed them right here at my house, and then I sent them out using Stamps.com. And right now, you too can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com, enter WTF. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. Yeah. So, Jeff Bridges. We all know Jeff Bridges. We've all grown up with Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges was always just over there in a movie through our entire lives. Me, anyways. But, he's been at it since he was a kid. Last Picture, he's always been there. And he's done some of the great characters that we love. Many of you Lebowski fans love The Dude. I'm a big fan of Cutter's Way. And the new one, the big fire movie, Only the Brave, with Josh Brolin and Miles Teller, opens Friday, October 20th. And I saw it. And it's compelling. And it's exciting. And it's got some stellar fucking acting in it. And the fire does an amazing job as well. There's great fire in it. This is me talking to Jeff Bridges. So your brother was here.
Yeah, cool.
And he told me to do this.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you all about that.
To do the
finger. Yeah,
the
very
finger.
Good. Yeah, but you're too active. His was more subtle. He was just as simple like this. Point. But then he could get very subtle, like it could be just kind of resting on a table with his, and it's about his expression. He would have an expression. Then at dinner table, he could have his hands on his lap.
Yeah.
And he could just look at me, and I know that he was pointing at me under the table, and it would drive me absolutely crazy. And I go, "Stop it!" They say, "What's wrong?" My parents would say, "What do you mean?" He said, "He's pointing at me under the table." Beau, stop pointing at Jeff. I'm not pointing at him. And I would know he was because the way he looked at me.
Right. So it was just some sort of annoying.
Yeah.
It wasn't frightening. Wasn't intimidating. It was just mind. He was mind fucking you.
Mind fucking, yeah. Or he would hover. He would take his hand and get very close to my face, but not touch me. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and he was older. How much older?
8 years.
So it was intimidating.
He was intimidating but wonderful. I mean, I see all the guitars you got around here, so you can imagine being a young kid and out of your older brother's room pours all this Chuck Berry, Little Richard.
He was the
Buddy
guy.
Oh man, yeah, he had all that,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel fortunate for having the Beatles and Dylan, but Beau, man,
he grew up with a whole.
Oh man, what an era!
Right, he grew up with the whole other thing.
Oh yeah,
8 years apart. So so he grew up with Buddy Holly and all that, and then you come and you're coming to. You're like when you're blossoming, it's just a completely different scene.
Oh yeah, I turned him on to the Beatles and
no,
Dylan.
You turned him
on.
on.
Oh yeah.
Well, he stuck in the old groove.
Yeah, like I do. Are you stuck in the groove? I mean, what music do you like?
I'm 54. I like all kinds of music, but I grew up in the crashing wave of your generation, so that was what defined me. But when I was in high school, it was Zeppelin and Skinner, ZZ Top.
So we got here a little bit early to the show, and I was turning Gene on, who's younger than you, and I said, "Do you know who the Fleetwoods are? Do you know who the Fleetwoods are? Do you know who they are? Not Fleetwood Mac, but the Fleetwoods."
I know the name. What song? Give me the hit. And
I'm Mr. Blue.
Yeah.
You know that song?
Yeah.
So that was pouring out of Beau's room too. Those kind of songs, but
that's great.
Oh, great.
Do you remember the one that struck you the hardest? Was it Chuck Berry? Was it?
Chuck? It's hard to beat Chuck Berry.
Right.
Man. I mean, it really is. Gene, represents Brian Wilson, and the whole Beach Boys. Yeah. So we were just talking about Chuck Berry, and all their early influences were, Chuck Berry. And,
sure. Yeah.
But Chuck Berry, Little Richard, man.
Oh, yeah, great.
James Brown. You don't get, James. I remember seeing James when I was a kid.
But it's funny. I listen to some of your music. It seems like it's sort of country-driven, almost a little petty-ish in places.
It's pretty eclectic. When you said petty, we just got to say,
sad.
Oh man,
just devastating. What a
God.
Really
great.
Did you go see him the last?
I missed him.
I just saw it second to the last night.
Oh
and
man!
I said to my audience, I said it looked like he was having a great time.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what everybody was saying.
So sad.
Oh man.
So but you play pretty seriously.
So I was saying, I got this big break with Crazy Heart, this movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
And it's funny, I turned that down for a couple of years. It
was kicking around that long?
Yeah, it came to me, and I said, well, there were no music attached to it. So I thought, well, if there's no music, no matter how good the script is, it's going to be, no good if the music's not good. So I kept turning it down. And also, there's a kind of another secret reason that I was turning it down, even to myself, I think.
What?
I realized later. And that was, when things are in the dream zone, they're kind of safe, right?
Which means when
you can't fail, you can't succeed, you can't fail, but, you're cool because it's in your mind. You can, taste it.
Sure.
But I've always wanted to make a movie about music. That was great.
Yeah.
But to have it really come into focus, and we did when my buddy T-Bone Burnett, we'd go back, 30 years.
You known him that long?
We met on Heaven's Gate, yeah.
Well, he did the music arranging for Heaven's Gate?
No, that was David Mansfield, another buddy of T-Bone's.
What was T-Bone doing on that?
T-Bone, I like to tease him about this. He played my maid in the movie.
Oh, my God.
In an apron, and he kind of sweeping up the barn and stuff.
So he was
But Christopherson, who's the star of that movie, invited all these great musicians from T-Bone, Ronnie Hawkins, all kinds of
any of the band guys.
Well, Steve Bruton, I don't know if you know him. He was Steve Bruton, an incredible guitar player, dear friend of T-Bone's, and was so instrumental in making Crazy Heart. The movie Crazy Heart was dedicated to him. He died right after the movie came out.
He was on your record, though, wasn't he?
He's on my record. He wrote a lot of the record, a lot of songs, and Crazy Heart too.
Yeah, he had Roseanne Cash on a song, and Sam, what's her name?
Sam Phillips.
Yeah,
T-Bone's ex.
Marc Rebo.
Oh yeah, Marc Rebo.
He's
Are you
out
a
there.
fan,
dude.
man?
Sure,
oh,
man.
gosh, man. Some
Wild.
of his solo stuff. Have you dug his
Wild.
solo stuff?
Yeah, it's out
Isn't
there.
it great?
Yeah.
Oh, all that, the standards that's one of standards that he does.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
heard that?
But he can travel with that guitar, man.
Oh, he does whatever he wants. So anyway, Bone, I run into Bone, and he says, "What do you think about this script, Crazy Heart?" And I said, "Why do you ask? Well, there's no music." He goes, "Oh, that's the easy part." I said, are you interested?" And he says, "Well, I'll do it if you'll do it." I said, "You're kidding me." He says, "No." So there goes the dream, and now it's becoming reality.
Right.
And it's that, that fear. What the image that comes to mind is the wide receiver going out for that perfectly thrown pass, and you just pray that your hands are going to catch that thing, and you're going to do justice to the throw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do justice to what you've been given.
Right.
And it was, so frightening.
But with T-Bone from the beginning, the concept was you were going to do it. You were going to do the music. You were going to do the singing.
Well, Bone said, "Oh yeah, man, the music's the easy part." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Oh yeah." Well, he said, "That's what I do. I can, music will come up with stuff. We'll get Bruton and it's all to come together." I say, "Oh man, this could be just too much fun to not do.
Yeah.
Who cares if it fails? This is too,
Yeah.
So we got together. I brought my ancient friend. We go back to the 4th grade. A guy named John Goodwin.
Yeah, John. Who
wrote kind of the title song in a way to Crazy Heart. Hold on You. That's based on Bone put some words in there too, but it's basically a Johnny Goodwin tune. But we got together and we just started jamming on tunes and hanging. It was so great.
And you've been playing a long time.
Yeah, since I was a kid, 12 or so.
Right, because your brother, like, it's funny because he's like, I had the guitar around and then he just took off. Was it your dad's guitar or was it your guitar?
My dad had a Goya.
Oh, yeah.
And he had some kind of finger infection or something, couldn't play. So I played on that. And then Beau had this white Dan Electro.
Right. An original Dan Electro.
The
weird cutaway.
Yeah. With
groovy guitar.
Vinyl on the side.
Sure, man.
Yeah. And so.
They're making those again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they reissued that stuff.
Yeah.
And so you took to it.
Oh, yeah. I started just, you learn, the cool thing about guitars, it's got those, the graph, it tells you little points where you put your fingers.
Oh, the chords, in the songbook.
In the songbook.
Yeah.
And then, I learned, three chords, and then I started to write right away. And that's kind of, I started to just make up stuff.
Before we stop talking about Crazy Heart, you won an Oscar.
Yeah.
That was a long time coming, Jeff, right?
Oh, well, thank you, but,
you don't think about it like that?
No, I mean, God, that was pretty wild. Though.
It's great. It was great.
Yeah,
it's better you got that than the Lifetime Achievement. You know what I mean?
Yes, right. Yeah, that's true, too.
Like, you don't want to be one of those guys, he's 90, like, we never gave him one.
That's right.
We better give him the big one.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, it was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great, man. You've been doing great work for so many years. I can't.
Thank you.
Well, there's just so many moments in my life. Like there's other, like that American Heart movie. That's one of those movies that I love you in. You got ripped, got in good shape for that one.
Oh yeah, also, yeah.
And like Cutter's Way, I've seen many times.
Oh yeah, wasn't John great? John Hurt.
Oh my
we lost
God.
him recently, but he should have got some award.
He's
so many guys that are just so good that you don't see it. They're just, like another guy that reminds me that I worked with early on was Timothy Bottoms in Last Picture Show.
That's way back. And then he did was he in the Paper Chase?
He was in Paper Chase.
And then he kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he kind of, dropped out of the movie biz.
He was very sweet, very natural in Last Picture Show.
Yeah, Johnny Got His Gun. He was in that as well. But and he was, like you say, natural. It was like he's not acting. He's just there doing it.
Well, how did you guys work with Bogdanovich? How did that all come together? Because that was your first big movie, right?
That was my second movie.
But you did some shit as a kid. Both you and your brother, because your dad's Lloyd Bridges. You did Sea Hunt.
We did see. I was.
What else did you do? Some weird TV shows.
Oh, I did a bunch of TV shows. My parents, especially my father, was so gung ho about showbiz.
Right. He loved it.
Oh, he loved it. All aspects of it. What we're doing here. Signing autographs, doing the movies. And. My first part officially was when I was 6 months old.
Yeah.
And my parents were visiting A friend of theirs, John Cromwell, was shooting a movie called The Company She Keeps with Jane Greer, an incredible actress.
Uh-huh.
And
they needed a baby.
And they needed a baby, and they gave Jane me, and I was kind of happy baby. They wanted a crying baby. My mom said, "Oh, just pinch him. He'll cry." Pinch me, and I cried.
Oh, see that method.
And now we cut like 30 years later, and I'm doing a movie with Jane Greer, the redo of a wonderful movie that she did with Mitchum called Out of the Past.
Oh, yeah.
And ours was called Against All Odds.
Who was the female lead in that?
In mine, Rachel Ward.
Yeah, I remember that.
Man.
That was. I love that original, and the remake's good too. But did you watch the original, The Study?
I didn't. I watched it. I didn't study it. But that is a real masterpiece.
Kirk Douglas,
Bob Mitchum, and Jane Greer. And Jane Greer, man, that's who it was.
Intense, dude.
And so styleless. There's no like now.
Scary.
Just like back in those days. Some of the acting seems kind of stylish. Some kind of style.
So did you say to her, did she remember you as a child?
So of course we teased about it, and I'd say to her, we're doing Against All Odds. She's playing her character in the original, her mother, and she's playing Rachel Ward's mother. Ah. And I said to Jane, Jane, I'm having some trouble emoting in this scene. How about a little pinch? It was fun to harken back.
Did she get it?
Oh yeah.
So that's so wild that you were that just not only with your brother with the music, but generationally your personal experience in show business.
Oh,
I mean, your dad's generation, there must have been a lot of characters around. I tried to kind of get it out of your brother, but he said your dad didn't hang out exclusively with.
There wasn't too many showbiz guys around. My dad didn't do that too much, but as I just coming over here, I was talking to my publicist, Gene, and I'm going to, tomorrow night, I'm going to my 50th high school reunion.
Wow. And you went to high school here?
I went to uni.
Yeah.
Uni high school there on Barrington and,
It's here in where is it, in Westwood?
It's in Westwood,
okay.
Yeah. And
it's nice to go when you've achieved some things.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be pretty wild. But I was telling Gene, I said, guess who was in my class? I said, do you know who John Raitt is? And she said, no. I say, you know who Bonnie Raitt is? I said, yeah, John Raitt is Bonnie's father. John established all of the great musicals, Carousel, Oklahoma, on Broadway.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, John Raitt. Man.
Yeah.
That's where Bonnie gets those pipes.
Yeah.
So she was in my class. Bonnie was in my class.
Bonnie was in your class.
And my girlfriend, Kaya Keel, her father is Howard Keel, who did all of those, parts that, a lot of the parts that John did in the movies. Howard did them in the movies.
Uh-huh.
So
the musicals?
Yeah, they were in my class. Jan and Dean went to my high school.
A little older?
They were a little older. They were about Beau's age, but they had all those hits, man, in high school. A lot of those hits in high school.
Surf hits.
Can you imagine having that stuff going on when you're in high school? Well, that's the time for it to go on.
You keep in touch with many people from high school?
Yeah. A lot of my dear friends are still high school guys.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, you seem to have survived show business pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't live here anymore at all?
I live in Santa Barbara now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I got shook out with that earthquake, 20-some years ago.
Oh, really? You've been down there that long? Or up there?
Yeah.
Which is it, up or down? It's up. It's
yeah.
up, yeah. It's pretty up there, though, right?
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, we love it up there.
So, now, tell me about, how, because I tried to get it out of your brother, because he told me that, you did Last Picture Show. You were both sort of doing TV and doing stuff, and you were both acting. Right? But he's a little older, you're a little younger. He seems jealous of your guitar playing ability. And then you start acting and you get this break in Last Picture Show. And he said that he had gone out for Fat City.
Oh, yeah. He says he got me the part. Is that right? Yeah. I like, people often ask, do we compete and stuff? Not really. We're on the same team. We root for each other. He always mentions me. I always mention him. Try to get each other. One of our teammates a gig.
It could have gone another way. It could have been. You could have Cain enabled it. But you guys, you love each other.
But you mentioned Fat City.
Yeah.
So I think he did his agent work and got me me to see
John Huston.
John Huston,
Yeah.
And my agent calls me and says John Huston wants to see you.
Yeah.
I say, really? Oh gosh, okay. All right, where and what time and stuff? And he says, well, it's in Madrid.
Spain.
Yeah, and I understand he wants to meet you at the Prado there. And it's tomorrow or something, really like this. And I'm like, a young kid, in my early 20s. I say, oh, okay, our ventures on. So off I go, and I land, like checking into the hotel.
They flew you out to Spain.
They pull me out to Spain, and I meet this beautiful girl in the lobby while I'm checking in.
Yeah.
And we start talking, and she says, have you been to Spain? I said, no. And she says, well, I'll take you out.
Yeah.
So I say, great. So I go out that night. I wake up the next morning, just, I got to be at the Prado at 11 or something. I wake up at, 10 or something, and I just puke my guts out. I've got a terrible case of food poisoning.
Yeah.
And here I have got to go to the Prado,
Yeah.
So I'm going to the Prado. John is, not talking about the movie at all. This is Velasquez. This is, Goya. And I'm
Giving you
going,
the
and
tour.
I'm going, puking in my mouth and swallowing my puke. I don't want to puke on the Velasquez, man.
Or Johnny Houston.
Or John. Well, that would be, I would rather go there if, one of his pockets or something. But no, I'm doing my best to hold it. We don't talk about the movie at all. I think, I didn't get the part. I go home and I'm dying, man. I can't speak Spanish. And the door knocks in my hotel room. I crawl on my hands and knees, open the door, and who's there but James Mason?
What?
And we had done a movie just prior to this
called
The Yin and Yang of Mr. Go.
What happened to that movie?
Anyway, James saves my life, and he gets me a shot.
Yeah.
But that movie was.
Wait, so I didn't mean to interrupt. He takes you to the dock?
No, he just, I was paralyzed, on the floor, and he says, oh, but what's wrong with you, Jeffrey? I said, I'm and he got, the doc came, gave me kind of a shot, and he basically saved my life. I wouldn't know what I would have done.
Oh, yeah, get all dehydrated.
But a few, maybe a year before that, I did a movie, I think it might have been right after Picture Show, called The Yin and Yang of Mr. Go.
It sounds like one of those crazy 60s.
It was a totally
movies.
Crazy, weird movie.
Yeah.
Written, directed, produced, and also starring Burgess Meredith.
Young Burgess Meredith.
Yes, pretty young. He was, pretty old at the time, or I thought he was anyway.
And what was that groovy movie?
And that was about this guy, James Mason, who played this Chinese Mexican. And
a Chinese Mexican?
Yeah, he played a Chinese Mexican. Burgess played a Chinese guy, too.
Uh-huh.
And it was about this weapons dealer who is just changes, like, boom, overnight, is struck and says, I want to make good things out of it. And I play a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
And it was it was such a wild scene because, a couple of things. First of all, Burgess was, such an incredible cat. He said, you play guitar. Let's make your character a guy who writes rock opera. Write some songs. So he had me writing songs for the movie and stuff. Yeah. Then after the movie was over, quite a few years later, we kept up our relationship. He also turned me on to John Lilly. Do you know who John Lilly is? The guy who invented
the dolphin guy?
The dolphin. He also invented the isolation tank.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So
this is some hippie shit.
So, big time. Yeah. And so Sue and I were
floating in the tanks?
Guinea pigs for him. He would, John would put us in there and then take notes.
So you met John. So
yeah.
Part of the study?
Through Burgess. Part of the study, man. Part of the study.
The late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah.
So you're floating in the tanks. You got wires on you?
No, we're just floating in the tanks. The first thing you do, John instructed, you get out 3 times. You just lie down and you get out. And you know what the tank is? It's like
saline.
But about 1,000 pounds of salt in this kind of coffin box.
Right. And it's just one person per tank.
One person per tank, but you float and the water is 98.6. Your ears are underwater. The idea is, what happens to consciousness when you have no input,
Oh, dig it, yeah.
And it's pretty wild what happens because what you find out is how much you're projecting.
Right.
How much you are supplying.
Right.
Everything, you know.
To what you think is reality.
What you think is reality. Yeah. And like so many things, you know, our brain, you know, you get paranoia is really I mean, it's right there, man, you know, all the fucking time.
Sure.
So,
man.
you know, the first thing I do, I'm in there, I get out 3 times and I'm lying in this thing and the thing is, and I say, okay, here I am. I just fucking relax. John Lilly, he looks so weird. He was in that weird blue jumpsuit. And did he have breasts? It looked like he had breasts. What's in this water? Am I going to have breasts? Am I turning into, what's he? Wait a minute. That's just my, you know, that's my mind. You know,
turning into a dolphin.
Yeah. So that's the kind of, you know, thing. And then when you come out, of course, all the reality kind of rushes in, and it's harder to see how much projection you're supplying because the screen is all, you know, complex with everything.
Yeah.
But we're constantly doing that.
So that was a mind blower. That successfully altered your consciousness.
A big mind blower. Yeah, that was a big mind blower.
Were you a drug guy in the 60s?
Oh, yeah.
Did your share of acid?
Yeah, did all of that stuff, and
what'd you get out of it?
What did I get out of What did I get out of acid specifically? Well, I overdosed.
Yeah.
Which was problematic, which kind of makes me want to not do it ever again, you know. But, you know, it's that old thing about
turned on.
It's it's open. Now you must open. Yeah. Open. You've done it.
Yeah.
So open, you know. Yeah. And so I went to this party, and it was a birthday party, and we had some acid in the punch, and we had a good time. And then my friend, whose birthday it was, he comes over the next morning and he's giggling. I said, "What are you giggling? What's in that jar?" I said, "What is it?" He says, "It's the dregs of the punch, man." So he says, "Let's do it." I said, "Okay." So we split this, we chug-a-lug this thing. And it was just too strong, man. It was like, you know.
And it's during the day now.
Oh, and I fell back. It was boom. Yeah. It happened too fast. And open. I can't open it. Open. And it was just terrible, man. And I just, fell on the floor, just a quivering fetal thing.
And then you had to do that for 10 hours.
Oh, yeah. And I just said, oh, no. But of course, it's, opens up things,
Yeah, sure.
And encourages you to maybe see things aren't exactly as you.
Yeah, it sounds like both of those things are like that. But the paranoia thing, I mean, like that came in handy in that Arlington Road movie, right?
Well, that's everything finally comes in handy, you know.
Yeah. I love that movie because I like that stuff.
That was a good one, and
Tim Robbins.
We got down to the end. The end. You saw the ending, and we're getting about ready to shoot the ending.
Yeah,
and the studio says, "We want you to shoot a happier ending." I said, "What the fuck are you talking about? That's the whole point of the thing."
Yeah, what's the point of the movie?
Yeah. And they say, so they wanted to do it. They got they're funding the thing, you know. Yeah. So our director, Marc Pellington,
Yeah.
So Marc Pellington said, "We're going to shoot the happy ending,
but
we're going to shoot it really bad." Which was a bold thing to do because
Sabotage.
That could have been because that could have been our thing, but we shot it,
there's no way it could work
poorly enough that they went with the other ending.
So after Last Picture Show and doing all this stuff, like it just seems that did you learn on the job? Did you study acting? Did you at some point? Because you have a lot of range.
Yeah, my father, he taught me all the basics. When we're doing Sea Hunt. He'd have me, sitting on his bed, going over the lines, and he would say, "Now, make it sound real. Make it sound like it's happening for the first time.
Yeah.
And don't just wait till I stop talking to say your line. You can listen to what I'm saying and let that inform what you're saying.
Yeah.
And now go out of the room." And when you come back, I want you to do it completely different. And I do that. And so he worked me as a.
He did it with Beau too.
And Beau was, right after my dad. Beau was my next acting coach. He would, we'd work on scenes and stuff, for agents and this kind of thing. And one of the challenges for an actor is getting your audience. Where are you going to perform when you just start?
Yeah.
And so Beau came up with this brilliant idea. He would rent a flatbed truck.
Yeah.
And we would work up some scenes, and we would pull into a supermarket, And then our father taught us how to stage fight, how to fake fight. So we would put on a fight, and people would gather around. It looked very real. People gather around when they're starting to break up. We go, no, it's a show. And we jump up on the flatbed, and we would do our scenes until the cops would come. And then we'd try to incorporate the cops in some sort of improv. They didn't like that too much. They'd get pissed. We go, no, we're out of here, officer. And we'd go off to the next supermarket, do our fight, and we'd get up and we played the supermarket.
Guerrilla theater.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's trippy, man.
But that was,
what was the point of that? Just for fun?
Well, no, for training. Working
really?
Up work on your scenes, man, and you have an audience, and, we would do.
What scenes were they?
We were working on, particularly, Beau and I were working on a scene from Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, were they going to do it? Did they do a movie?
No, I don't think he's ever allowed the movie to do it, but that was a movie. We were working on it for get an agent.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so Beau and I would go into the agent, and we'd go into the agent's office, and we would talk for a second, and then Beau would say, "I got to go to take a leak," and he would go out to the bathroom. And the idea that we had planned was that when he would come back in, that's when the scene would start. We wouldn't say, okay, now we're going to do our scene. No,
right.
It was just going to be a blend of real thing, and then they would realize it. And so he came in, and he was playing loose. Do you remember the book? He was like this. I can't remember the scene, but it had to do with fencing foils, and I can't quite remember. But it was a scene, from the book. But
did it work?
Yeah, man, it got me the agent, and
First agent. Your first one?
Yeah, my very first one.
How long did you stay with that guy?
I stayed with him for quite a while. I can't remember, a long time, 15, 20 years.
Now, was your dad thrilled that you guys were both in the game?
Oh, yeah, he loved it. I fought with my dad, because what young teenage kid wants to do what their parents want them to do?
Sure.
I said, no, I'm into the music, painting, art and stuff. He goes, Jeff, don't be ridiculous. That's what's so wonderful about acting is you get to use all of your talents and, things that excite you. And,
so he's really into it. He
was deep into it. He loved it. And, just supported it. And I got to work with, whenever I got to work with Beau or my dad was really.
How often did you work with your dad in movies?
I worked with him twice.
Yeah.
In Tucker. And,
that's right.
Blown Away.
Did he play your dad in
No.
Oh, he played the congressman?
He played a bad guy.
Right.
A guy who was trying to shut my character down or something.
Oh, my God. And then what was the other one?
And the other one was Blown Away, where he played my uncle in that.
He was a great actor.
Oh, man, he was so
And then he did comedy, he did the Airplane movie
I remember when I was doing Blown Away, talking to the producer, and we're casting the movie. I said, who'd really be good as my uncle, wonderful actor, Lloyd Bridges. Are you familiar with him? And he laughed. He says, "Oh yeah, your dad is he's very talented, but he's really more of a comic." I say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I said, "Well, Airplane." I said, "Yeah, but that's just one of the tool in his kit bag, man. I mean, So I said, "You want him to come in and read for you?" And he said, "Yeah." Would he do that? I said, "Oh God!" So of course he came in, knocked it out of the park,
You Bridges guys getting each other jobs here and there.
But my dad, he was, I think of all the things I learned from him, and I learned, like I said, all the basics, was just the joy in which he had when he worked. When I got to work with him as a kid in Sea Hunt, and that was a little. That was different. I mean, now as I'm even telling it, I'm imagining a weird story that kind of embarrassed me. But now as I look back, I was kind of pleased where he was working with a director on that show, and I played a small little part, and the director was giving a lot of shit to some PA, just a kind of a guy who was doing errands, coffee, and the director was really taking out. And my dad said, "Could I have your attention, please?" to the crew, and he said, when our director apologizes to this young kid, I'll be in my trailer, and you can come and get me, but I want him to apologize in front of everyone to what, but that's the kind of guy my dad was. And then when I worked with him later, like in Tucker.
Yeah.
Oh, man. With Francis Coppola, who's like a big kid in a way,
Yeah.
And Francis made this, he called all the crew and the cast in. And we had 2 weeks rehearsal. The first week was kind of getting to know each other. The second week, Francis says, we're going to spend this second week shooting the entire movie on this little video camera. Vittorio Storaro, the famous, our DP, he will use the little wheelchair as a dolly, and he'll be shooting. And you actors, now when you're doing the car scene, when the car stops, I want you to go, give a little jerk, and you wardrobe people, the wedding scene. Look at these curtains, could be good wedding. So it was kind of like Argyle comedy or The Little Rascals.
Sure.
Like, let's make a movie.
Yeah.
We shot the whole movie in 1 week.
In place of storyboarding?
Well, no, here's the thing. What he did, I found this out later, he storyboarded very extensively.
Right.
He took photographs and then replaced those pictures, the drawings, with photographs. Then he shot this movie and replaced the storyboard with this...
The film, the video.
The video film.
Right.
Which he gave to us at that week. We didn't know it, but he was editing that film going to and from work. So he gave, at the end of that second week of rehearsal, he said, here's our film. We're just going to polish it up. Isn't that wild? So the film was always there. But we only did one take for that whole thing.
For the video thing.
For the video thing. But it was such a spirit of play, and that was such, it really, was kind of my dad's style, because this joy that he had and the sense of play was really contagious when he showed up to work.
So he loved
People realized, hey, this is kind of fun what we're doing.
As opposed to be like, what do you mean we're shooting the whole movie?
Or just something, and all through the movie, during the movie, we had this sense of joy and play, and of course that when you're kind of playful, you tend to relax, and when you relax, your best stuff can leak out, man.
Well, and also that character was very buoyant and resilient and always sort of optimistic. Your character.
Oh yes,
Tucker.
Very much.
And there was sort of a kind of a lighthearted comedic element to that movie, to the pace of that movie.
Yeah.
That he kept just trying and taking the hits.
Yeah, and
but he never got sunk.
As we talk about it, Marty Landau, my dear friend from that movie, he just passed away.
Great.
He was an incredible
sad
guy.
That he passed,
yeah, but
great guy.
What a great guy.
That's right. He was your financer in that movie, right?
Yeah.
He's a fascinating guy. It's sad, but he lived a good long life.
Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah. What other actors do you look up to? That changed your game.
All the guy. I'm a fan now of Bloodline. You've been watching that?
No.
Beau's in that show. Oh man, do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
All the actors, and I can't even think of all their names, but it's wonderful when things come together. When you got great directing, great DP, you got a great story, and the actors, and it all comes together, and that's the case with Bloodline.
But later on, you work with Eastwood, George Kennedy in that movie, in the Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, and then all these. There's a Farrah Fawcett movie. You worked with everybody. You've worked with everybody.
Yeah. I've worked with a lot of great people. That's my favorite thing about the gig is, all the artists that you get to work with. Not only the actors, but, costume designers and.
Tron, you did Tron.
Yeah.
Cutting edge future.
Well,
movie.
the guy, now Tron.
It came back, right?
We did another one, Picture Show. We did another picture show 20 years later with the same cast.
What was that called, though?
Which one?
The second picture show.
Texasville,
right.
Yeah. But with Tron, Joe Kosinski directed the second Tron. I can't remember the name of the second Tron, the sequel. But that was his first movie. Can you imagine directing something like that for your first movie? When the original Tron, it was
kind of weird.
Very, very. It was shot in 70 millimeter black and white, and then all hand tinted, and it was a real kind of a primitive thing. The second one, I got scanned.
Right.
Into the computer. I mean, literally. I mean, as an actor.
Yeah.
so I could play myself as a young guy. And so that's, I think, the future of my profession will be, they'll just have us all in there, and they say, well, let's put a little Mitchum, let's put a little De Niro, just a splash of Bridges, and let's see what happens.
Is that a good thing?
It's a thing. It's what's going to happen, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's good or not.
I don't think it's
but
good.
Joe Kosinski, the guy who directed the second one, just directed me in this movie that's coming out called Only the Brave. The story of the Granite Mountain Hotshots.
I watched it.
And he directed that one.
Isn't that wild?
So that's the cool thing about movies also, is that you have these little lifetimes kind of, and then you'll have reincarnations of those people in your another lifetime. Because it's a relatively small biz.
Yeah, it was smaller when he started, but it's still pretty small, I guess. All right, let's talk about Lebowski for a minute.
Okay.
Like, I had to watch it. Like, I love the Coen brothers, and I have my favorite Coen brothers movies, but people are just, it's got a cult. The Lebowski has a following of people that decode it. They love it. They watch it many times every year. And this exists, right?
Oh, yeah, man, totally. I mean, I had my Beatle moment when I played a Lebowski festival. Man, with my band.
Yeah.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the dude. Playing to a sea of dudes and bowling pins and mods, the Viking helmets,
Really? So they do full-on cosplay, full-on costume stuff.
Oh, and it goes on for a couple of days. I mean, it's pretty wild, man.
Because I had to keep going back to the movie because I wanted to understand why people are obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Well, for my 2 cents, a couple. I mean,
what?
It's so deep to me. For number one, the Coen brothers are masters, right?
Oh, they're great.
They know how to make a really good movie, and that is what that is.
Yeah.
That is a good movie. When you watch it, it's like eating pop. You can't stop. I don't watch my movies when they're on TV normally.
No.
But if Lebowski comes on, I'll say, well, I'll just watch the Turtle will lick the ball, and then I'll go to something else, and I'll say, I'm just going to now watch this, and then I get hooked.
Yeah.
Because each scene, you remember something new about it, you kind of get a deeper thing about it, and it's got a sweetness to it too.
Oh yeah,
and
again that Bridges buoyancy.
Well, I remember, the thing that when John hugs me, after throwing the ashes all over me, I get pissed at him. He go, come on, dude. There's just some touching, dear stuff about it.
Well, someone had to point out to me, this is how dumb I am, really, that it's really a play on a noir movie. It's really a play on a detective film.
Right.
And for some reason, I just didn't put that together.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then once I put that together, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like the big sleep.
Yeah. Like I didn't realize, because I'm an idiot, that that's the model of it.
And then it's just so good. I'm sitting having dinner at this guy's house. On one side is Ram Dass, the Be Here Now guy, and on the other side.
Did you know him in the 60s?
No, I didn't. This was the first time I'd met him. And on my other side is this guy named Bernie Glassman, who is a Zen master.
Uh-huh.
And we're eating, and he says, I saw Lebowski. I go, oh, yeah. I said, what do you think? He says, well, you realize in many Buddhist circles, the dude is considered a Zen master. I say, what are you talking about? He says, oh, yeah. I say, no, we never talked about anything spiritual or anything like that on the show. He goes, oh, yeah. I say, well, what do you mean? He says, well, who wrote and directed the thing? I say, the Coen brothers. He goes, the Coen brothers. You know what a koan is, right?
Yeah, right.
And he says, the film is riddled with modern-day koans. I say, come on. He says, yeah, I'm all about bringing Buddhism into the current times.
Uh-huh.
He says, let's write a book. I said, what are you talking about? He says, let's write a book about Lebowski and about all the koans in there. I said, what do you mean? Give me an example. He goes like, well, shut the fuck up, Donnie. There's a koan right there. The dude abides, or that's just like your opinion, man. Yeah. So we write this book called The Dude and the Zen Master.
Yeah.
And it's I love the book, but it's, it's that kind of depth that people, see stuff in this.
Did the Coen brothers see the book?
They got a copy. I don't know if they looked at it or not, but I sent them a copy.
Yeah, they never got back?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
The Coen brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
That is some hippie shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But Bernie, he's got a great organization called the Zen Peacemakers, and he's, an amazing cat.
Do you practice Buddhism, though, as a person?
I do practice, yeah. I wouldn't officially say I'm a Buddhist, but I do practice. I'm Buddhistly bent.
Yeah. Buddhistly bent. I like that.
Yeah.
Like, what do? You meditate?
I meditate. Yeah. I like to do, I read a lot of stuff, Bernie's written some great books.
Can you meditate successfully? Are you good at it?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. I don't know why I fight it. I resist it, and then I don't try to do it. And all you got to do is sit there, right?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you studied, you practiced, you read any of the stuff?
Not really, but I've sat and breathed.
Yeah, that's basically, and you count those suckers,
You count which suckers?
The breaths,
right.
The breath, count them, and all of those thoughts, one of the main things I think gets in people's ways, they think they're not supposed to think or have thoughts.
No, you got to let them go by, right?
That's just that our mind secretes that shit, just like, our saliva or something. That's just what the mind does,
It secretes thoughts.
So you just got to, that thing about, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
That not only goes for other people, but that goes for ourselves, our own opinions.
Right.
We have these thoughts,
that
are kind of mean. They don't mean shit, man. They're just thoughts.
And it's what we hang our sense of reality on. It goes back to the isolation thing.
That's exactly right. We project all of this stuff.
And also our brains are like recording devices. It just, they regurgitate.
Yeah, right.
What's your thought? What's a thought that you heard? How'd you get the information? What's really happening, man?
There's so many cool, books, like one of the most accessible people, I think, is Pema Chodron. Do you know her?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I love listening to her stuff, and
I should listen. I should get into it. I think there's some part of me that wants to hold on to the aggravation.
Yeah. Well, for your work, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Or just because, who am I without that?
That's right. Well, who am I? That's the big question. That's the thing to meditate on. Who am I? Who is this thing? Who is this guy?
Have you figured it out?
Yeah, it's like, it keeps, these two mirrors facing each other. I haven't figured it out. No, I don't. Yeah, but like you say, I don't know if I want to figure it out. It's like, you ever been to a psychiatrist?
Sure.
So, it's just like peeling an onion.
I got to go today.
Oh, you going today to shrink? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't go that often, but at different points in my life I've gone when I need a second opinion.
Yeah.
Like, hey dude, am I fucked up?
Yeah, exactly, man. I remember I went to a guy for about a year, maybe a little longer, and that was heavy. It was like three 2-hour sessions a week.
Holy shit,
really, and I didn't have any necessarily problem. I just wanted to experience psychiatry and dig with the guy and find out. So, and it just kept, peeling onions and peeling, and there's nothing down there. It's just a bunch of onion skins. There's there's nothing. And finally, the thing I say, well, I'm paying this guy as a friend. It just felt weird after a while.
No, I understand that.
But it's a great, especially if you get a guy who you're getting something from. I mean, I think
if you have trauma, or if you have some like character flaws
that
you can trace. Yeah, right. Trace that.
I'm working with a really interesting thing now.
For a movie?
No, a friend turned me onto this book. Actually, I told my daughter about this book. She says, I turned you onto that book.
Right.
And I go, oh, okay. But she's into this kind of stuff. It's called Feeding Your Demons.
Oh.
And it's this CHOD, C-H-O-D practice. And basically what it is, we have this, it's very common to have this kind of, the George, fighting the dragon, defeating our demons. I can do this.
Yeah.
And this exercise is completely different. It's you feel your demon, or this this thing that you have anxiety about, or fear, or guilt, or whatever. You feel it. You try to conjure up its shape and its size, its color, texture, and then you create it. And you imagine it out in front of you. and you ask the demon, "What do you want?" And then you become the demon.
Sure, they just want to hang out.
And you answer what the demon wants.
Sure, yeah.
And he'll say that, and then you become yourself again, and you create this nectar made out of your body. Basically, you feed the demon as opposed to trying to kill it. You feed it what it wants.
Yeah, but they're always hungry, and then they're going to want other people.
Well, that's what you know. But yeah, that's a heavy. That's an aspect of the demon. And you roll with that.
It seems like your openness to this kind of thing just informs your ability to act and have range.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, it goes in with the acting for sure. Yeah, there's so many. Actors are kind of into this thing. An actor who I really, you talked about actors you admire.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guys is Kevin Bacon.
Sure, I've talked to him.
He's a wonderful cat.
He's a great guy.
Isn't he a good guy?
Hell yeah.
And he gave me a little, I don't know if he meant it in a spiritual way, but I kind of took it.
Yeah, what did he do?
Well, when you're acting, you have, or I do anyway, there's kind of a, anxiety comes up,
When?
Flop sweat, huh?
Before?
Well, just before a thing, you're anxious to whether, it's basically what I was telling you about Crazy Heart.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to catch the ball? Are you going to be able to do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Do justice to the material.
Yeah.
So we got a big scene, and it's quite involved, and there's quite a few
movie?
actors. This is in a movie called R.I.P.D. He gathers us together. Kevin said, he says, now, and he gets us all together, and then he looks at us all very seriously, and he says, remember, everything depends on this. And it put it in perspective, of course it doesn't, but then on another side, it does. This moment is the whole thing, This is how we're receiving, Anyway, I enjoyed working with him.
Yeah.
And also another thing, I see all these guitars around, and maybe we can pick after this interview just a little Scotia, unless you got to go somewhere.
Man. No.
But there's so many actors play music,
Oh, really?
And music is another wonderful way to connect with people. Man, I mean, it saves so much time. When we were doing Against All Odds, Taylor Hackford, the director of that movie, the first thing we did, we split a bottle of tequila down in Mexico and worked our way through the whole Beatle catalog. He's got a beautiful voice, and we just sang, and then, because that's what it's all about, is, harmonizing, making it sound good.
And also, like, having a good time.
And having a good time.
You seem to be very able to have a good time.
Well, I like to have a good time, I enjoy it. I can go the other way, too, I get depressed and, tight and all that stuff.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
For long periods of time?
I wouldn't say chronically, I go back and forth, but I get down there too.
Yeah. Full range.
Yeah, the full range of humanity. Yeah.
Real quick though, Heaven's Gate. Did that feel like a disaster when you were doing it?
Oh God, what a shame that was. That was a wild ride. I can tell, all those musicians, we talked about all those musicians, and it was in the cocaine days, man. I mean, you can imagine.
Everyone's jacked.
Except, Chris was on the wagon he didn't party with us. He really wanted to catch that ball. He was really
big part for him.
Big part for him. And, Cimino, I did his first movie, by the way, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, the one with Clint. That was his first. That was his first movie.
Yeah, I like that movie.
And on that movie, Clint was, holding all the power in the thing,
Yeah.
And he's famous for doing one or two takes. That's all he likes to do. And I was the young punk who'd say, "Oh, Mike, I got an idea. I gotta go one more time." He says, "Well, I'll have to ask the boss," And Clint would say, "I'll give the kid another shot," And then, he would, and that would, that was wonderful. And then he did, Mike Cimino did Deer Hunter, which was this huge success, and it was executed so beautifully,
Just watched it again recently.
It's so great, And then so the movie maker said, "Oh, whatever you want, you're our, darling," And he says, "Well, I've got a great epic Western I want to do." And when you think about the story of the tale that Heaven's Gate tells,
I never saw it.
You've never seen it.
I gotta watch it.
Oh man, yeah, it's amazing. It's about cynicism, and what cynicism costs us. I mean, that's especially for these times. It's kind of an interesting thing about it. And it, when all these Europeans were splashing onto our shores, this is in the 1860s, they'd get out into Montana and Wyoming, they'd see all these walking hamburgers, all this beef, and they would have to eat, or they'd starve. So they would get these cows. And in those days, the Cattlemen's Association was like the big oil companies today.
Right.
And maybe a handful of guys owned all the property from Texas to Canada. And they hired 100 gunmen, Texas gunmen, to come up and kill these immigrants that were on a list. And this letter that announced these gunmen was signed by the President of the United States to go up there and kill these people. That's what
for killing cows.
For killing cows, and there were 100 guys on this list. And I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it's worth seeing. But the movie, when it came out, it came out during a time when MTV was very popular, and it was all this fast cutting. And Heaven's Gate is very slow. It's like almost like this. What's that Russian guy Tarkovsky? Very, it's very slow, but when if you get with the filmmaker, Cimino's rhythm, it's quite beautiful. It really sets you back in those times. Anyway, that was part of the reason, I think, because it didn't suit the times as far as editorially. And then also, Cimino didn't want any of these suits to come to the set. And he didn't want to talk to press. And all of that. And that created some animosity, from the review, from the critics and from the thing, and they let him have it.
Before it even. So they hated him before it even came out.
And so when it came out, I remember going to the big premiere in New York. Everybody's in tuxes, and the end of the movie, and you hear that terrible sound, It sounds like popcorn starting to go off, and then you say, in your mind, you're thinking, maybe they're just so blown away, but it was just, nobody kind of got it. And the word had leaked out that he had spent all this money and, everything.
There's drugs and everything else.
And then,
excess.
Excess. Yeah.
He's out of control.
And then the next day we're driving to the airport to go to Toronto and we pick up this review. And it said, if they shaved Cimino's head, they would find 3 6s.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
For a movie?
Yeah, for a movie, and they just attacked him.
And that that was the end of the 70s, man.
And that we thought that was it. But now it's considered a classic.
I know, I got to watch it. It's just one of those
Chris
things.
Walken is so great. Man. Mickey Rourke is in it.
No shit. I didn't know that. But your last movie, you like playing these Western type of dudes?
I remember, Westerns, my dad, who's in a lot of great Westerns, High Noon, he was in that, whenever he'd come home from work dressed up like a cowboy, I'd put on his boots and his hat and, cowboys.
Sure, man.
What a time.
And you did that thing what Bad Company was sort of a Western,
Bad
right?
Company, that was, Bob Benton's first movie,
Is that a deep movie?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good movie, yeah. You know who's in that movie? Who plays Big Joe?
David Huddleston.
David Huddleston. You know who David Huddleston is?
I got to look.
David Huddleston is the Big Lebowski.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. So David Huddleston was in Bad Company, and he was the Big Lebowski,
he was the
man.
Big Lebowski.
Yeah, exactly. It's a small world after all.
Did the Coen brothers know that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I always wonder, man.
Oh, yeah.
Put that in the Cohan.
Yeah, the Coans.
The Coans. So you can make all the connections. But and also Fearless, great movie. Vanishing, interesting remake.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where I just read off the movies and tell you how good you are. The Baker Boys with your brother.
Oh, we should talk a little, since you did Beau, you talk a little bit about, that was just a dream come true because playing with Beau on that level, we would have lunch every day, split a bottle of wine, just pinch each other. Say, can you believe what we're doing? Oh man!
And he told me, how did we come together?
Fun.
Why that? He was a young kid, right? Who had this
guy Steve Clovis, who was like in his 20s when he wrote and directed that play, and he he just we jammed on it, for about a month. We had rehearsals and improvs and stuff, and we had this one improv that really gave me faith in him as a director. We would, each of us would take turns setting up situations, and then we would do a long improv. And Steve said, "Okay, here's the situation. Jeff, you left home. You snuck out at night. It's about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You just went to see your hero Bill Evans at this club." Playing piano, and everybody's kind of leaving now, and Bill Evans comes out of the bathroom, and he's just shot up in the bathroom, and he bums a cigarette off you, and he says, "And I'm going to play Bill Evans," the director, this young director. Steve says, "I'll play Bill Evans, and Beau, when I put my hands through my hair, Big Brother is going to come and try to get his, kid out of there."
Yeah.
And so we did that improv, and that gave me such faith in Steve as a director.
Wow.
The number one, that he would play with us, and then I saw that, he's got the chops. He knows what it's about,
man. Yeah.
So that was, and then Michelle, man. I mean,
she's
God,
great.
it was like every once in a while something like that comes down, and that's,
it's just amazing, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And you get to work with your bro.
Oh man.
But also though, it seems like the last few, the ensemble in this new one, the Fire movie, Only the Brave, right? That's a big bunch of good actors in that.
Yeah.
And also the Hell or High Water. That was tight. That was a tight little movie, man.
Yeah.
Did you like playing with those guys?
Very much. That director David McKenzie is wonderful, and oh God, it was that was a great movie.
Oh, and also the Coens redid True Grit. I thought that was good too.
That was good. Josh Brolin was in that movie. We didn't have any scenes together, but it was we hung out a little bit. And he's so good in this Only the Brave.
He's a fucking good actor.
Isn't he a good actor, man?
It's a trip, right?
Very good.
You can feel that, right?
And again, another second generation, his dad.
James Brolin.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys where you just watched him grow, and now he's just solid, man.
Yeah.
Just grounded in it.
Yeah. Very
you guys
good.
had some good scenes in this Fire movie.
Yeah.
What was the big challenge of this? It's a true story,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, true story.
Heartbreaking story.
It's a heartbreaking story, but it really, rather than concentrating on the heartbreak, it's really focusing on who these guys are.
Oh yeah, by the time the shit goes down, you feel bad.
Have you seen it?
I did.
You saw it. Yeah.
You feel bad. It's heartbreaking, but there is something transcendent about their journey.
Yeah.
But that moment where they all pull those things over their heads. Oh boy.
Oh man, and these guys, hot shots. Yeah. Talk about brave, going right where most of us would, run away from. They're going into it, and they practice. We're talking about, meditation and practice. You play guitar, I kick myself in the ass for not practicing enough. Practice, because that's the whole deal, man. And
but
these
you want
guys,
it to be fun, man.
You want it to be fun, but the more you practice, the more fun it's going to be, right, man? Come on, you know that, right?
Yeah,
you're a musician.
Yeah. When you learn a lick, you're like, oh shit!
Yeah, and then it makes
I can do that.
Yeah, and but these guys practice bravery, practice fighting fire.
Did all those actors have to learn how to be firefighters? They
probably
did.
Oh yeah, they did. And the only living survivor, Brendan McDonough, was with us on the set the whole time.
Was that heavy?
And it was very heavy. It was
the guy that's who Miles Teller plays.
Yeah, he plays. Miles Teller plays, and it was wonderful to have his support and his stamp of approval. That was most important to us, and how the families of the survivors felt about the film, and they're all supportive of the film, and I was really happy to see that there is a Granite Mountain Fund for people who want to contribute to the firefighters.
Oh yeah,
if they go to onlythebrave-movie.com, you can feel about this Granite. The Granite Mountain Hot Shots, that fund. I've been, we got this climate change going on, fires. I was in Montana at my daughter, giving to my daughter this beautiful wedding. Fires are just all over us,
Yeah.
I've lost a house to a fire.
Where?
In Malibu.
Oh, really?
I lost 400 acres of our ranch in Montana, burned down. It just fires all over the place. You
still got a place up there?
Yeah.
Did you spend a lot of time up there?
I live in the whorehouse from Heaven's Gate. It's true. We were shooting that movie, at the hog. It's the Hog Ranch.
Uh-huh.
This is where I'm killed out in front of this place.
Oh my God!
And Chimino says now the Hog Ranch is on this people's property. They don't want it there anymore. We're going to burn it down. Does anybody want it? And I shot my hand up, and he gave me the place numbered and also the barn. It was
built for the movie?
It was built for the movie, just how they built it in those days, where no matching logs, just whatever, to beat the winter, whatever trees
Did
are
you
in
fix it up?
We over the years, we have fixed it up, but now, that's 40 years ago or whatever.
That's a trip. Everything.
But some of those, the bullets, that didn't go off are still in the,
really?
in the wall.
That's hilarious.
Oh man.
So what do you want to knock a song out?
I was thinking,
we can do
maybe we can pick a little bit, and because there's a couple of songs I wouldn't mind playing a song, but I'd like to brush up on it a little bit.
Oh yeah,
do it. What do you think? You got time to do it?
Sure, man. I'll go get let me go get the acoustic.
Did you pick with Neil?
No,
man.
I couldn't. He didn't play here. Who has played here? Nick Lowe has played in here. Lucinda Williams has played in here.
Did you pick with him at all?
No, Jimmy Vaughn let me play with him. Dave Alvin let me play with him. They I feel all right playing with you because
I'm no good.
But no, not because of that.
No,
because we're not pros. We're guys that like to do it.
You know who I got to play with?
Who?
Bob Dylan, man.
Come on,
man. Look on your list there. I did a movie with him, Masked and Anonymous. Do you ever see that movie?
Oh, I have not seen that movie.
That's a weird movie, man.
It was about him, right?
He wrote it with Larry Charles, who was the guy who created Seinfeld and everything. And it was Larry's first movie.
Yeah.
So he says to me, say, you're kind of the senior thespian here. Why don't you and Bob work on some acting, man? So I got to pretend with Bob for like a half a day, doing improvs and stuff. That was he's such a great presence, and I think a wonderful actor.
Yeah, he's great. He did some stuff with Peckinpah back in the day.
Oh yeah. And then I'm in my trailer, and I open the trailer, and there he is. He says, "Hey, you want to pick?" He comes in, and man.
Wow. Yeah. What'd you play?
I had been working on that great song that he sings. In Natural Born Killers, you know that he just sings it with just him playing the guitar, and he's such a great guitar player.
He is, yeah.
See see the pyramids across the Nile.
Yeah,
You belong to me. So we played that, and then we played. I played him one of my buddies, John's, one of his songs. Here, let me see if I can. Well, let's just try it once, and I'll probably need to do it a couple of times.
She's gonna go nuts. She said you guys got.
She's gonna go nuts. So what I'll do is I'm gonna I'll just play a couple, and then we can work out. I think I don't know about the publishing thing, but here, this one should be no problem.
Whose is this?
This is John Goodwin's. Just one more airplane. Just one more war to win, just one more stormy sea. I'm lost and I'm still sailing in. Just one more hurricane, just one more time machine, and I'll be free. And I'll never leave you again. I'll never leave you again. I'll burn my suitcase to ashes, and I'll never leave you, I'll never leave you again. Just one more rocket ship to shoot me to the stars. Just one more parachute to drop me safely where you are. Just one more time machine, just one more telephone, and I'll be home.
never leave you again. I'll burn my suitcase to ashes again. I'll never leave you. I'll never leave. I'll never leave you again.
Yeah, man, we did it.
John Goodwin.
Beautiful. Thanks, buddy.
Cool, man.
That was it. That was Jeff Bridges. Isn't it amazing to hear him get excited and sound exactly like Jeff Bridges in the movies? That was so Jeff Bridges. That was fun. Don't forget, folks, movies, sports, TV shows, gaming, it all sounds better on Playbase. It adds dynamic, pulse-pounding sound to whatever's playing on your TV and streams your favorite music when you're not watching. And now, for the first time ever, Sonos is offering WTF listeners 10% off one order of $2,500 or less for any product on Sonos.com. This offer is available for a limited time only and cannot be combined with other discounts or promotions. Just use the promo code WTF10 at Sonos.com to receive this exclusive offer. That's WTF and the number 10. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Godspeed into the next hour of your life. Go hour to hour if you have to. Minute to minute. Day by day sometimes is a chore. Boomer lives!